live. Okay. This is live, allegedly. Let me just make sure before I start talking. Can I hear myself? Yes, I can. All right. Listen up, gang. There has been some drama, some controversy going around. And I'm doing this stream is my final response to the drama, addressing it. And you guys are probably like, Monsef, what is this drama all about? So, like, in case you've been living underneath a rock for the past few days, this drama is about steak. How to eat steak. All right. So, I'm gonna undeafen here, where we got Zoal. So
Hello.
basically, what this drama is about how to eat steak, and it all started with. Hold up, I need a screen share so I can see what I'm talking about. Share screen one. It all started one fateful day when I posted this video, my newest Smelly Jelly video. At exactly 9:25, my dad gave me a piece of steak to try because he was making steak for dinner, and I ate it. And Kenny said, "Yo, give me a slice." And then I said, "I don't cut my steak into slices." This was like a Nexus Point event where the next like 2 weeks was spiraled into steak drama over whether or not it's normal to not cut your steak into slices. All right. So here is the timeline so far. It started with me explaining how I eat my steak. Basically, I pick up the whole thing with a fork, I bite it, and I put it down, and I eat it like that. I don't cut it into slices. Then, I got into a heated debate with Stardust, Zoao, Justin, Kenny, and Kestrel. After that, I posted a video where the debate basically went public, and then there was like a whole civil war in my Discord about the steak debate. And that leads us to now, the present. So, there's 3 factions, okay? So, we have side number 1, the Primals. The Primals, they basically eat their steak by picking it up with their hands and biting into it, okay? And the Primals consist of people like Clef. We got side number 2, the Slicers. The people who cut their steaks into slices and then eat it. This includes Justin, Zoao, Rissy, Kenny, Stardust, Neiman, etc. This is the majority group. Then the third faction is number 3, the Forkers. The people who pick up the steak with a fork and eat it like that. That includes people like me, Fromper, and Curio. Now, the 3 nations once lived in harmony until one fateful day. The Slicers attacked.
Monster,
Okay, I was
saying the 3 nations like once lived in harmony.
Is the fire alarm going off? Yo!
Your attention.
No! The fire alarm's going off! Yo, Tat, we're gonna have to pause, bro. Tat, we're gonna have to put a timeout, bro. Yo, Joao.
Damn it, it's such a good example.
Joao, you're gonna have to. Yo, guys, BRB. Joao, I'll be back in like 20 minutes. Entertain this. Okay, bye.
All right, I'm gonna. All right, this is my streaming career. I'm gonna make. Oh wait, crap, Monsev. No, I was gonna make a freaking stream of Roblox Grace. I can't do that because freaking Monsev. I mean, maybe. Hold on. What if I share screen? Roblox, Honey Jelly. Let's hope. Smooth video resolution. Frame rate 30. Go live. Let's hope it work. I think it work. Okay, I can. Oh, so I thought it. Oh, okay. Oh wait, will it take me out of the call? No, because he left the call. That's gonna be bad. instant create. I'm in a time limit because if he left, let me. If he left, it bad. All right, let me just do this stuff. Get out of here. Dot test. Come on. Okay. Bye. Bye. No time. Uh-oh. All right. Now for the bangers. Oh, crap. There we go. Get out of here. Okay. Ugh. No, 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 no. 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 No, 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 no. No one. Oh. Oh. Oh, I'm dead. Yeah. Am I still in the call? Yes, I am still in the call. Okay. That was on me. I'm throwing. I'm not warmed up. You can always try again. Now I have to wait 7 seconds. I think he is still in the call. I hope. Oh, so close. All right. We skip everything. We go over here. I'm gonna have to do litany. Oop, oop. I didn't do the thing. Oh. Thank you. All right. Can't see. Janitor. We'd love to see it.
Hello, I'm back. I'm back. We're so back.
Back.
We're back. So where were we? Yes. The 30 nations once lived in harmony.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say my.
Let me stop
say my-
sharing.
Okay.
Where was it? Like saying that
Oh, crap.
saying that the 3 nations lived in harmony, like that's as saying like the Europeans and the Native Americans lived in harmony because they didn't know about each other yet.
Well, no,
Yeah, that's-
I didn't
this
know
is-
you guys had this big of a deal
Like,
with
see,
it. I
no,
never
no,
met
no,
someone
no.
with.
This was inevitably going to end up this way once we found out.
But we didn't know you guys felt this way. Is the thing. Like, I casually said my opinion, and then I got attacked, bro. Okay. I thought you didn't want to be a part of this. I thought you like let Zoal do it because you didn't want to be involved. Okay, whatever. Moving on. They accused the primal and the forker method of being psychotic, wrong, and pure evil. Quote, you eat like a living feral creature.
Monsev,
Yeah?
you're not streaming the thingy.
What do you mean I'm not streaming?
You're not streaming. No, you're not screen sharing the slideshow.
Oh my god, bro. Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Oh my god, bro. This guy. Screen one. And I quote, you eat like a feral creature. It's annoying. You're wrong.
Yeah.
So wrong. It's weird, rude, and wrong. Now here's the thing. A lot of their insults were verbal insults, and I don't have recordings of the conversation. But it happened, okay? They accused the primal and forker method of basically being psychotic, wrong, and pure evil. So
Okay, well the fucking primal one is next level. I need to know about that.
So, they were then sent back up by the other slicers. If you're eating steak with your hands like it's a burger, you're a psychopath. There's no debating that. How are you seriously debating this? Monsef, this is me on Dom's phone. There's no debate. You're completely wrong. It ruins the steak. All right. And so the civil war of steak began, where the forkers, the primals, and the slicers basically had like an all-out war. And by war, I mean like a half-hour call on Discord. And after a long, hard-fought Discord call, the slicers split into two categories. The first category, the reasonables, they agreed that how you eat your steak is personal preference and all forms are valid.
Did Neiman actually join that call?
No, but he typed on Discord. Then we got the extremists, who will ride or die on the hill that slicing steak is the only incorrect method, period. And the thing about the extremists refuse to settle the beef and make a peace treaty in a Discord call. We tagged the entire server. All the people that joined the call were convinced it's personal preference, but all the people who disagreed refused to join and continued to hate. And I asked them multiple times to join the VC, and they refused to join, said goodbye, called us monster eaters, said nope, and yeah, essentially refused to squash the disagreement. So, also, settle the beef. Get it? Because we're talking about steak.
Shut up.
And this leads us now to the present, where the Discord is basically divided between the extremist slicers and pretty much everyone else. Now, the purpose of this stream, as a high-ranking member of the Forking Clan, this is my final response to the slicer extremists explaining why all three methods of eating steak are valid and it depends on preference. And then I got Zoao, who's the nominated leader of the Slicing Clan, to basically interrogate me, alright? So, first starters, defending the primals, okay? So, this is the reminder, this is the one where you eat steak with your hands. So here's the thing. Eating other meat with your hands is typically normal, like chicken, turkey, crab, etc. And eating steak with bones is by far easier than with hands. For example, ribs are typically eaten with hands. And this method, while messy, takes the least amount of effort and is the fastest method. And some people are perfectly fine and don't care about getting messy while they're eating, especially if they're going to wash their hands before and after. All right. So, I mean...
May I speak? The reason ribs are eaten with their hands is because ribs have bones. You were eating an actual steak that had no bones.
Yeah, there are steaks that have bones.
Yeah,
I guess
but you were
the
eating a
one in the
steak
picture doesn't have
without
bones.
bones. I'm pretty sure you were eating a steak without
Me?
bones.
I don't
Were
use
you?
the primal method. This
Uh-huh.
is Klep. This isn't me.
Just saying.
But yeah, if there's no bone, then I guess it's slightly less valid. But some people just simply
Yeah.
don't care about getting messy. And if that's the case, then no, what's the problem? It's faster and the easiest out of all three methods. So I don't think this is the best way to do it, but it's valid enough if that's how you want to eat your steak. All right. But
I guess.
this isn't the main beef. The main beef is between the next two, okay?
Uh-huh.
the slicers versus the forks. Now, regarding the forking method, these are the main critiques that I received. It's too messy, biting the steak is annoying, it's weird and not socially acceptable, you eat like a wild feral animal and it's not civilized, it's harder to serve, harder to collect the juices from the plate, if steak is too big, it's hard to eat with this method, and yeah, I mean, like, I asked around, I like dived to get these, and this is basically every point that like somebody could give me. Do you have like?
Yes. And
Okay.
they're very good points. Like that's one of the
All
first
right.
things your parents teach you to do.
Well, I'm gonna
Cut.
go through every single point here and debunk them one by one. All right.
Oh
Starting
my
with
god.
number one. It's too messy. No, it's not. For starters, the juices are better contained on your plate if the steak is whole. If you cut it up into pieces, more juice gets out, and your plate is overall more juicy. So by the end, if you eat it by picking the entire thing up with a fork and taking bites out of it, your plate is overall cleaner because less juices fall onto the plate in the first place. Point number two, if you take just one bite, put it down, chew and repeat. If the method is done correctly, there's like zero risk of a mess. You're not swinging the steak like it's some baseball bat flinging the juices around. You literally pick it up, take a bite, put it down, chew, repeat. It's not like some crazy thing. And I have video evidence later of this. Steaks are generally solid food. It's not gonna break apart if you like, aggressively shake it. I mean, unless you aggressively shake it, but why would anyone aggressively like swing around their steak? Like, if you pick it up, it's gonna like be pretty solid. It's gonna stay on the fork. It's not gonna flop around unless you just have like some absurdly massive steak or something. And then finally, because you don't use a knife, there's less dishes to wash afterwards. So it's actually kind of conservative, and like you use less like tools. You don't have to worry about a knife. And here's a video of someone doing it.
Big piece and just bites off pieces.
As you can see, there are no juices
Saves
falling
me
around
time.
everywhere. There's no mess
Saves me,
being made.
More dishes to wash?
She said herself, saves her time, saves her dishes,
I don't know, I just like doing this.
and she thinks it's a fun thing to do.
Okay.
As
Now let's
you
go
can see-
back. Let's go back one slide. Let's go back. Okay. So, as a Brazilian person, we have amazing barbecues. We know meats, pun intended, and not at the same time. I've eaten meat that is literally bleeding, and it will make a mess. But I know there's meats out there that don't make that much of a mess. But I like cutting it. Why? Because one, it's easier, but also
We're
because
gonna get
two,
into that.
like you said, the juices get spilled out. I usually eat white rice a lot, and when I don't have beans, it's kind of annoying. But what I do is I get the juice from the meat into the rice. So that's one thing. Also, about the solid steak, there are steaks out there that are way softer. Some even fall apart. So it's not completely true, but I see your point. And the point of the plate is to hold the food. You expect the plate to get dirty. If also dishwashers exist, you're gonna wash the plate anyways. So it's like it makes no point.
But you do save
What I
yourself
see-
a knife.
You save yourself a knife, but also there's people that cut steaks or things out there with a fork. I do that when I don't want to use a knife.
Well, some forks are difficult to cut with just a fork, unless it's like a really tender, perfectly cut piece of steak. If it's like overcooked or like not cooked perfectly, it's not as easy. But it's
Usually
always
I
easy
have
to just take a bite out of it.
Usually I have no trouble.
Well, then your parents must be very good at cooking meat.
Like
Well,
I
like-
said, we're Brazilian. We know meats.
Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
And as for like eating it with a rice, I mean, I guess it makes sense to like cut up the steak if you're eating it with something else. But I'm referring to typically just eating just a steak, like just having like a steak by itself. But all right,
I doubt.
that's valid. If you're eating the steak with other food, it makes sense to cut it.
Yes.
All right. So, but do you understand why it's not necessarily that messy to eat it with just a fork?
It depends on the steak, but yes, it is not that messy. And besides, I wasn't the one to go like it makes a mess.
Okay,
I was
okay.
more on the society
All right.
status and stuff like that.
So point number 2, biting steak is annoying. Here's the thing. People don't have a problem with biting other foods that are harder to bite. For example, fried chicken tenders, fried corn dogs, burgers, which literally have a giant piece of meat like in the middle. That's like the equivalent of a steak with a bunch of other ingredients on top of it as well. Like people don't have a problem biting any of these other foods that are probably like harder to eat or bite out of. And back to the messy point, people complain about the steaks being messy, while other foods that are normal to eat are far more messy. Like burgers, the burger juices are gonna get all over you and you're like biting it with your hands. That's far more messy than eating a steak by picking it up with a fork. So
Okay. And all right. So like I said, I'm not part of the messy debate part,
Mhm.
but I do have to say that the foods you listed are in fact made to be eaten like by being held, like burgers. The reason burgers were made because a guy in a dock was making meat and people were complaining that they were just like getting meat without a plate or utensils. So the guy just put a bread, like he just put meat between bread and gave it to them. And that's how the burger was made, I believe. It is not made to be cut with a knife. I'm also a person that is against cutting sandwiches. That is a whole other debate. Also, corn dogs or whatever that thing is on the right, those have a stick in the middle. You're not gonna cut those. You bite those. Same thing with hot dogs and pizza and stuff like that. And chicken nuggets, chicken tenders, things like that. They're usually smaller. They're bite size. You don't need to cut them. Or, I mean, I understand if you get them with a fork and you just, eat them whole because you don't want to get your hands dirty. But still,
well, yeah.
it's
All,
the foods were made to be eaten like that.
all these foods were intended to be bitten, but the difference is like some of them, like the burger for example, it's harder to take a big bite out of like a big burger versus a bite out of a steak. So the point is that like there's other foods that are harder to take bites out of that it's normal to take bites out of.
Yes, but when you get to like standards of society, I hope you are hitting into that subject.
We are going to talk about that.
Okay. When we hit that point, I will talk about it. You
Okay.
can go on.
And if a steak is cooked dry or very chewy, it becomes a bit harder to bite off a piece. But it also becomes harder to slice it with a knife. And also, you typically have to slice it from a certain direction for the knife to cut it easily. Otherwise, if it's like a dull knife or not a proper knife, it's going to be like far more annoying and it'll take far more effort to cut it. And I hear people complain about cutting steaks all the time. Like if my mom makes a steak and puts it on the dinner table and she's trying to like cut through a thick piece, I hear everyone like, this is so annoying. I don't know, that might just be me, but and if the dishes aren't done or you aren't eating like in a normal area, like say you're like outside with your friends or something and you don't have a knife, you'll always have the option to bite. You won't always have a knife. You'll have it most of the time probably, but in the rare occurrence where you don't have a knife, you can always like have the option to bite it.
In that situation, you wouldn't have a fucking fork either.
Well, yeah, well, no. I've had times before where like we're at the dinner table, but all the knives are dirty, but we have like forks. So like we have to like either like cut it with a fork or just pick it up and eat it. And
All right, so
well, let me just say the last part. Biting is, in my opinion, easier and it 100% is faster than having to cut a steak with a knife in most scenarios, at least for me.
all right, so in my opinion, I've never had a problem with cutting steak. I do believe it is just you, Monsev, or most people you know, because all the people I know have no trouble cutting steak. And if I do see, or if me and the people I hang out with, which is nearly everyone, could say that if you have trouble cutting a steak, it is, I am sorry to say, but it's a skill issue, man. It's a skill issue.
Have you ever had trouble biting a steak?
Uh, yes, but it's not because it's hard to cut, because it's chewy. That's why.
Well, chewy steak
So
is
it's
also
too
annoying to
soft.
cut with like a knife.
Exactly. Yes,
So
but
like,
if you cut
okay.
it the right way, which is the way I usually cut it every time, it is not that bad.
Yeah, but
It
you
is a
don't
better
need a right
alternative
way
than
with
biting it.
biting. There is no right way to bite. You just bite. With a knife,
Okay.
like you said, there is a right way to do it, which means like you have to know how to do it the right way. And you like you said, you're Brazilian, you know your food, but not everyone knows their food.
I see.
So okay.
Uh-huh.
So do you want me to move on?
Yes.
It's weird. It's not socially acceptable. Well, okay. Well, the first point, which Justin hates this point, but eating steak with a fork method is only weird if you make it weird. It's a social thing. If the people around you don't think it's weird, it's not weird. Which is why it's important that we spread the message that it's not weird. If everyone thought like this, it wouldn't exist. But while some people may find it weird or different, that doesn't mean the method is bad. Okay, society is not always right and has been wrong about many things in the past. For example, slavery. Okay, back then it was normalized by most people, but obviously today we know it was wrong. So even though the forking community is a minority, we still have the right to an opinion. And even though it's less popular, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just different. Okay, one doesn't have to be better than the other. It could just be like a preference thing. You know, it's like, for example, like if you're gay, just because most people aren't gay doesn't mean being gay is like psychotic and terrible. Okay, it's like a minority thing, but like they still have like rights and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. I
Like,
mean, yes, it does make sense with the rights part, but I am trying to give you an example without sounding either racist, sexist, homophobic, or anything else. So let's say let's say so at birth, well, since birth, your parents teach you stuff. One of the things they teach you is to sneeze and cover your mouth.
mhm.
So let's say random people out there start sneezing and not covering their mouth. People are gonna find that weird and unhygienic, or whatever.
Well, the difference is that literally is unhygienic.
Exactly. Eating steak with a fork only does seem like unrefined.
Well, I
It
guess that's
is.
what I'm trying to like prove to you that it's not like crazy unrefined.
It is unrefined and it is looked down upon. Why? Because it is certainly more animalistic looking. You cannot deny
I
it
think
is
it's
more
a
animalistic.
stereotype thing where you guys associate it in your head as like eating like a feral animal when you literally just like eat it normally. Like in the
Yeah,
video I
but you
showed you
can't
before. So he wasn't
deny.
gnawing at it like some animals. He was just eating it normally.
Yeah, but you can't deny the fact that you are actively biting it and then pulling it like animals eat their food.
Like for example, if I was with someone who thought it was weird in a steakhouse and I was doing it, instead of like not doing it, I would try to convince them that it's not weird and spread the message rather than just like,
And I
not do it
understand.
entirely.
And I understand that. But still, you gotta understand. You know that I have a point when I say it does seem rather animalistic.
Yeah, to most people it's not socially acceptable and it seems animalistic, not because it actually is, but because it's just like an image that people have in their head when they think eating steak without cutting it. So like if I show enough people that it's not actually animalistic, that image will slowly start to disappear. But I mean it's like the same thing with like racism, where like you're never gonna make everybody not racist, but you can spread the message and make less people racist.
I guess.
All right, so do I move on?
Yes.
People like the Slicer extremists are precisely why it's socially unacceptable. It is a self-made prophecy. If you stop treating it like a terrible thing to do, you'll realize it's not a big deal. So I mean, yeah, just kind of like exactly what we said. Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
all right. Now the next point. I know people. So in the video, you guys were like, name people that eat steak like this, and I go, well, I'm not gonna tell you. and then you guys were like, "Oh, so it doesn't count." And Kenny wanted me to address this. So basically, reason number one why I didn't drop any names is because this is like never a conversation I like had before. I don't know people who like exclusively only eat with like one method. Like I know some people, they'll like change the way they eat steak based on the steak or like the situation. Like I know certain people like
Yes.
family, for example, who have like maybe eaten it with a fork one time, but will slice it another time, who've like done it different times before. Like I've never asked someone before, like, hey, do you exclusively eat your steak like this? It's like I don't know, like for certainty. Two, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus since like I was getting like attacked for this. I'm not trying to like expose anyone. But three, I guess since like this controversies happened, there are like some people that have like came out in the Discord server and said they eat like this, like Frompert and Curio, for example. And there's like
Okay.
the video that I showed you with like the lady. And then
Uh-huh.
yeah, and then last point, just because many people don't do it doesn't mean it's invalid. This like we already went over. All right. You're eating it like a feral animal. So I'm pretty sure this is what I would consider steakist. You don't
Steak.
you don't dig into it like a wild animal and slobber all over it. You basically did just like in the video I showed you. You just pick it up, take a normal bite, chew, and put it down. There's no monstrous nature to how you eat it. It's simply a mental blockade that extremists have made where they picture you eating it like a beast, when the reality is it's just a casual way to eat food. And you eat other foods with far more gross methods. Like, you eat... Okay, I did not mean to put salad there. I don't know why salad's... But
Oh.
pizza, you eat it with your hands. Burger, it's like really juicy. You eat it with your bare hands. Sloppy joes. Wings, which have sauce all over them. You get far more messy eating wings than like eating steak with a fork. You could get like very nasty eating other food. Nachos are very messy. Watermelon, get water all over the place. And the list goes on. The steak is by far not like the weirdest way humans, or like messiest or disgustingest way people eat food. Okay? So I think like the feral animal point just doesn't make much sense.
Okay. I want you to think of a fancy restaurant.
Longhorn.
How many?
The
How
steakhouse.
many? I said a fancy restaurant, Monzo.
Is that not count as fancy? Okay, whatever.
like a
Whatever.
posh restaurant,
Okay,
like
okay.
a rich person restaurant
Okay.
with fancy food.
I don't got that kind of dough, but okay.
I'm pretty sure you can imagine one.
Okay.
I want you to name me how many of those foods that you said besides salad, even though it doesn't count.
It's how this
How many foods do you find in a fancy restaurant that you eat with your hands? Not all,
But usually there's like something with bread as an appetizer, like that you like
yes,
can dip.
but that's
Bread is
and
eaten with
usually
your
they're like
hands.
sandwiches.
Any
Sandwiches
sandwich
are
is
smaller.
typically eaten with your hands. Pizzas probably are eaten with your hands. I mean, I guess there's like the small minority that like use a fork and knife, but most people eat it with their hands.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is those foods are usually not seen as very refined. That's why they're eaten in a less refined way. So I'm not saying steak is specifically made to be a refined food. You can eat it any way you like, but it is better, or what would be the word? It is, you're looked upon better. It is more accepted to eat it like a refined person, which is with a fork and a knife.
Yeah,
Cutting into-
but that's because of like the other thing, right? Like the socially acceptable thing,
Exactly.
and not
It is
because
more socially acceptable.
okay. But do you agree that you're not eating it like a feral animal with this method?
I mean, how would I explain this? Because you did get the one person who knows like 3 languages, and English is like the languages
Okay.
least
Okay.
knows about. But I guess it is looked down upon because it does seem more animalistic.
Hold up,
But I
pause.
understand-
Frompert said something in chat. He said, "I got a point for your argument. Did early humans use utensils?" Okay, well, you see, Frompert, we're trying to argue that it's like not barbaric. So that's
Exactly.
but
Frank.
but yeah, people use well. early humans also didn't have like cooked steak, so it's like it's different. But I think the point still stands. It's not like a feral way to eat, but I guess it's looked down upon. But that's more because of the socially acceptable thing, not because of the eating like a feral animal thing.
Yeah. I was gonna say something. I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, ADHD. Just continue.
Okay. It's harder to sear the steak. Okay, not gonna lie.
Yes.
This is like the most valid point, probably. It is harder to
Yes.
sear the steak. However, when I go to a steakhouse, typically people get their own steak. Sometimes
Yeah.
there's no need to sear. Which in that case, this is irrelevant. But if you must sear, you can simply put the steak down and cut off a piece from the side you didn't bite from. Like how people do with like other foods. You don't munch from every angle of the steak like some, like, I don't know. It's not like you contaminate the entire thing by taking one bite, okay? Your like saliva juices don't go from inside your mouth through like the entire steak, like from taking a bite from it. That's just not how it works. You can still sear a steak even if you bite into it. It's just cut a piece from like the other side.
Okay. So I want you to tell me, how many times a month do you go to steakhouse?
Well, none. I'm in college. I don't got that kind of money, bro. I haven't.
Before
I
that-
don't think I've actually eaten like a proper good steak in like months.
Before college, then. Can you tell me?
I don't know. I remember times I've been to steakhouses, but not the last time. Not off the top of my head.
So you can say it's a very rare occasion, or a somewhat rare occasion.
Well,
to go to
steakhouses aren't the only times you eat steak, though.
Well, when you go eat a steak outside, that is not at like a restaurant where you order your own steak. It is somewhat rare, right?
All right.
Usually steak is something somewhat easy to make for home. I usually eat rice, beans, and some kind of meat for lunch and dinner every day, whether it's steak, chicken, or whatever, fish, salmon. Pretty
Mhm.
sure yesterday I ate steak, actually. And what I'm trying to get here is that in family occasions, there are people that don't usually eat everything. You can share in those occasions. Why? Because it is an amount made for everyone, so you can get as much as is available.
But yeah, just like know how much you eat. If you don't eat a lot, don't get a massive steak for yourself and like bite from all sides.
Yeah, the thing is, I usually, well, my parents usually make similar size steaks. Usually they are all the same size. Yeah, basically that. Usually you are in an environment you're more prone to being in an environment where you can share the steak than in an environment like a steakhouse or a restaurant where you get your own steak and that's it.
All right, I guess like the last thing here, while it is slightly more inconvenient than slicing, it's still not that difficult. It's not rocket science to put it down and cut off a piece and give it away. And like I will give this point to the slicers. It's easier with the slicers, but each method has their own perks. Searing is not the perk of the forking method. Like people who use this method, like me, don't really intend on searing the steak in the first place. But yeah, okay, that's valid. Can I move on?
Yes, you can.
It's harder to collect the juices from the plate. All right, so here's the thing. It's easier to dip the steak into sauce or slices or scoop up the steak juice from the plate, and a lot of juice ends up on the plate in the first place from cutting the steak. If the steak is kept whole, most of the juice remains inside the steak as you eat it, and there's not as much of a need to scoop up juice from the plate in the first place. And then if you have a cup of sauce, you can just pour some over where you're gonna bite. People do that with like other foods like burritos and stuff. They'll like pour it over like their bite and then eat it. And then in terms of dippings, it is probably better to slice if you're eating with a dipping. However, the steak juices usually there's far less that you end up eating due to the fact they're on the plate while you slice it. So like I think the dipping argument is fair enough, but the juices are gonna stay in the steak far, far more if you don't slice it. So I mean, yeah.
I guess, yeah, but usually I don't, really mind the juices. Like, again, Brazilian, we know meats.
Yeah, I mean,
Our meats, our barbecues I don't know if they're like called a different thing. I don't know if like I were to put it on the translator. We call it churrasco in Portuguese. They're just like really good, and I do believe Brazilian barbecues are way better, like a million times better than American
Okay, you might be biased.
I might be
You
biased,
might be
but
biased.
I have went to American barbecues and they are not as good.
All right.
Anyways, getting back in track, we have really delicious meat, pun intended and not intended at the same time. So usually you don't mind one part of the steak, you mind the whole steak. So like I don't really care about the juice. I just eat the steak and enjoy it because it's already delicious.
All right. So you don't really care about the juices, basically.
I don't really care about the juices, especially because most of the time they're like barely noticeable.
All right. Well, I guess this is more like a point for the people who eat like rare, medium rare steaks, like Stardust, for
That
example.
too. Yeah, that too.
It's like the juices are critical for some people.
Yes,
All
and
right.
I do eat like steak like that sometimes. I do like rare to medium rare or like still some blood in it. It's like it's red inside. I still like it. It's nice to eat every now and then because it's like chewy, it's nice, it's soft, and the juices. But I don't eat it a lot, so
All
I,
right.
you know.
So could we move on from this one then?
Hmm.
Are we good with it? Okay. The steak is too big to eat with a fork. Nah, not really. For starters, most people aren't eating massive steaks. Your average steak on a fork won't flop around like a pancake, okay? I mean, steaks are like, well, like 6 inches, like your typical average steak. But if you do have a steak truly too big, you could just cut it into two pieces and proceed with the fork method. However, the odds of you finding a steak that like won't work with this method, like a steak that you're gonna eat like on your own, is very unlikely. Here is me eating a T-bone steak with the forking method, and it worked just fine for me. Okay, realistically, any steak you're gonna eat with this method is gonna work just fine. It would have to be unusually massive, like the low taper fade, or unusually like skinny for it to not work with this method. So like this like concept that the steak is too big just doesn't even apply like 90% of the time.
Uh-huh. Okay. I mean, in my experience, most of the time my steak sizes vary a lot. I can tell you that there are days I eat two steaks that are 3 inches, 4 inches, and then there's like days where I get like steaks that are like nearly 10 inches. My steak size varies, so can't really give a good opinion, I guess. Or
So
maybe I can, and I'm just not, thinking about it.
so move on. Uh, did you mute your mic?
Yeah, I'm muting my mic. I was just talking about
Uh,
my mom. Go
Do we
ahead.
move
You can
on?
go. Yes.
All right. Here are the final benefits to the forking method. The steak stays warmer, so cutting into slices lets the heat escape faster, and by the end, your steak might be cold. Okay? And biting it keeps the heat mostly trapped inside and can serve better. And if you don't like hot food, you can just let it cool down before you start eating. Because, like, you can, like, let your steak get colder without cutting it, but, like, no one, most people prefer their steaks warm instead of cold. So odds are you're gonna prefer not cutting it like for the heat. The forking method is faster. Slicing the steak takes up more time. Cutting the steak is far more time consuming than just biting it. Also back with like the steak being warmer. If you take a slice and then eat it and like take slices as you go, it would still be warmer than like slicing it all from the beginning, but it would still get colder faster than taking bites. Uh, your plate is more organized because there's literally one thing on it instead of like a bunch of slices. Um, and whoever is doing the dishes will be happy they don't have to wash either any or less knives. And it's just a fun way to eat. And this is like I guess just like preference, but I think it's a fun way to eat.
Okay, two things. Usually I don't think my steak gets too cold when I cut it. Like it scientifically does get colder faster because it's smaller,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't really affect that much.
Okay, so you
I don't
don't
know
think
if
it's significant
Yeah.
enough to matter.
it's not that significant. I mean, I guess it does get a bit colder, but it's not that significant of a change. And then there is another point.
Mm-hmm.
You ever got like meat stuck in your teeth?
Yeah.
Exactly. That happens because you bite the steak.
But that could also just happen from chewing it. Like that
Yeah,
that could
most-
happen like regardless. That doesn't really.
But most of the time, you see the back teeth are made to crush. The front teeth are made to cut. That means the front teeth go through the steak. The back teeth crush the steak. They don't really go through.
Okay, well, even though those are the ones
You- you-
designed for chewing, you still use like your front teeth while doing it, just like way less. But like food does like end up through there, like through the
Yeah,
process
but
of eating.
what you do when you bite is you increase the chances of getting meat stuck between your teeth.
Yeah, but I feel like it happens to most people regardless. Like even if they cut their steak, like steakhouses usually have toothpicks everywhere, and like people usually have toothpicks when they eat steak, and then like afterwards, I mean people like floss and stuff. So like if people have proper hygiene and they're flossing their teeth, this should be like it shouldn't really be that big of a deal, especially since it happens both. You're right that it probably does happen more from biting, but
Mhm.
it happens more regardless. So like it's not like you're gonna floss harder if you bite your steak. Like you're still gonna floss all parts of your teeth, and you get the same result.
I guess, yeah. But still, it still increases the chances of.
All right,
Okay.
all right. So, should I move on?
Yes.
Conclusion. All three methods of eating steak are valid, and each one shines in different aspects of eating steak. They're all different, but neither is wrong. So I'm hereby offering a peace treaty that all three methods are valid to eat steak so we could finally end the war. And then here I have the Treaty of the Steak. We, the Slicer community, while have our disagreements, respect the forking and primal method as a valid way to eat steak if you choose to do so. So, yeah, now you have to decide if you're gonna sign it or not sign it, because you are here representing the extremist Slicer community.
Look, man, to begin with, I don't even see myself as a extremist. All I wanted is to make you realize that it is looked down upon and it does seem kind of animalistic. But I do understand. I'm a pretty chill guy. No meme intended. I really don't care what other people do with their lives. But like, I just wanted to make you realize that there are some things that are better done the right way. Yes, I still believe your way is somewhat still wrong. But in my opinion, there was never a civil war to begin with. So I guess, yeah, I will sign it just to go like, okay, there's no war. But like, still, it's kind
All
of
right,
stupid.
so you respect the method enough to coexist with it.
Yeah.
How about that?
18%. Let's go.
You were about to write my last name, weren't you?
No, I want to put your username in there. All right, the treaty has been signed. The war is over. Let's go. Could we get some round of applause in the chat?
Wait, I already have a tweet.
War
And
is
all I
over.
want to say is that this literally seems like the cereal debate whether you
Two of them.
put the milk first or put the cereal first. And I'm gonna be honest with you, cereal is first, then it's milk. Anyways,
Yeah.
I gotta go eat dinner.
All right, goodbye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for joining us. I will see you later.
See ya.
All right, chat. I think we managed to successfully resolve this conflict. All right, we had our differences, but I think overall we can finally put this tragic Dark Age behind us. I'm gonna end stream now because I have to do my homework and it's 8 p.m. I haven't started.
Are we done here?
Yeah, almost. So I'm gonna go now. Goodbye. Give me some more. Give me like 3 more likes for the Marvel Rivals stream. We're almost at 30 likes on the video. Use code SmellyJelly, #ad. Subscribe to the main channel. Subscribe to the second channel. Subscribe to the reaction channel. Subscribe to the Yaps channel. They're all linked in my channel description thingy.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Goodbye.
I don't have money.